The silence behind her smile, Keanu Reeves was used to silence. Not the kind found in empty rooms or quiet studios, but the deeper kind. The kind that lingers between people. The kind that hides stories behind smiles. He saw it often. On film, sets, in waiting rooms, even during interviews where everyone wanted to hear his voice, yet never really listened. But the silence that lived in the woman who cleaned his home every day. That silence felt different. Her name was Maria. She arrived just before sunrise, wearing the same faded blue sweater and jeans, her long black hair always tied back in a neat braid. She moved through his house like a breeze, gentle, quiet, never asking, never intruding. The floors sparkled after she passed. Dishes were always washed, laundry folded with care. But it wasn't the work that caught his attention. It was her eyes. They held something he couldn't explain, something heavy. Keanu had spoken to Maria many times, offering coffee, asking about her day, but her answers were always short and kind. She never complained, never spoke of family, never mentioned where she came from or where she went when the job was done. He respected her privacy, of course, but over time, curiosity turned into concern. One rainy Thursday morning, Keanu stood by the window and watched her leave. Her small umbrella barely protected her from the pouring rain. She didn't call a cab. She didn't get in a car. She walked, not toward the bus stop, but down a narrow alley behind his property, the kind most people ignored. Something about that path stayed with him all day. That night, sleep didn't come easy. His thoughts wandered back to Maria. How someone could be so kind, so dedicated, yet remain so invisible. Hollywood was filled with people pretending to care. Maria never pretended. She just disappeared when her work was done. The next day, after thanking her as usual, Keanu did something he never imagined he'd do. He followed her. He waited 10 minutes before grabbing a cap and stepping out into the soft afternoon light. Maria had already turned the corner. He walked briskly but carefully, keeping a distance so she wouldn't notice. Down the sidewalk, past a closed flower shop, across a cracked parking lot. Then she turned left, into that same narrow alley. Keanu hesitated. It felt strange, maybe even wrong. But something inside him refused to stop. As he stepped into the alley, the city noise faded. Tall walls rose on both sides, covered in peeling posters and graffiti. The ground was wet from the earlier rain. He kept walking. Maria was ahead, her figure small and steady. She didn't look back. She moved like she had walked this path 1,000 times. At the end of the alley, she paused by a rusted gate. She looked left, then right, then pushed it open and slipped inside. Keanu approached slowly. The gate was old and heavy but not locked. He peeked through. Behind it was an old apartment building, crumbling bricks, broken windows, laundry lines hanging from crooked balconies. It didn't look safe. It didn't look warm. Yet Maria had entered like it was home. His heart sank. This was where she lived. He waited a moment before slipping away, retracing his steps through the alley, his thoughts racing. He had known celebrities who lived in gold-covered mansions and complained about bad lighting. But Maria, who never asked for anything, lived in a building that looked like it was one storm away from falling apart. That night, Keanu sat in his kitchen, a hot cup of tea in his hands. The silence in the house felt louder now. Maria's silence wasn't just quietness, it was survival. Over the next week, he couldn't stop thinking about it. He noticed the small things, how she folded napkins perfectly, how she brought her own cleaning cloths instead of using his, how her shoes were always soaked when she arrived on rainy mornings, and how, despite everything, she smiled when she saw him. Then one morning, something unexpected happened. Maria didn't come. He waited. Hours passed. By evening, the house remained untouched. No message, no call, nothing. Keanu tried not to panic. Maybe she was sick. Maybe she had the day off. Maybe she finally took a break. But the next day, she still didn't show. Keanu picked up his phone, fingers hovering over his contacts. But he realized he didn't have her number. He didn't even know her last name. It felt wrong. Someone had been part of his daily life for over 2 years, and he knew nothing about her. She had cared for his home like it was her own. And he had never once asked where she lived, if she was okay, if she needed help. That evening, he returned to the alley. The gate was closed, but he pushed it open again. The same building greeted him, looking even more broken than before. He climbed the stairs carefully, each step creaking beneath his feet. On the 3rd floor, he found a door that looked different. A small piece of paper was taped to it. He leaned closer. It was a notice. Final warning of eviction. His stomach dropped. He knocked gently. No answer. He knocked again, louder this time. Still nothing. As he turned to leave, a voice called out from the shadows of the hallway. "You're looking for Maria." He turned. An older woman stood there, her face tired, holding a bag of groceries. "Yes," he replied softly. "I'm her friend." The woman nodded slowly. "She left 2 days ago, early in the morning, took nothing but her bag, didn't say where she was going." Keanu's heart ached. "Did she say anything? Anything at all?" The woman shook her head. "Just thanked me for the bread I gave her last week." Then she smiled and said, "Everything will be fine soon." He walked back down the stairs, in silence. His thoughts were spinning. What had happened? Where had she gone? As he stepped back into the alley, the city noise rushed in once more. Horns honking, people laughing, life moving on. But inside him, something had changed. Maria wasn't just a maid. She was someone who had endured more than he ever realized. And now, she was missing. Keanu knew one thing for certain. He had to find her. And he had no idea what he'd discover when he did. Keanu returns to the alley one last time, only to find a torn photograph tucked under a brick near the gate. It's a photo of Maria, with a child he never knew existed. The torn photo and the truth he never imagined. Keanu stared at the torn photograph in his hands. The edges were worn, like it had been folded and unfolded too many times. The colors were fading, but the faces were clear. Maria was smiling, younger, her eyes still carrying that same quiet sadness. But beside her stood a child, a girl, maybe 5 or 6. Her smile wide, her small hand holding Maria's sleeve like it was the only thing that kept her steady. He felt something stir inside him. All this time, Maria had been coming into his home, cleaning, scrubbing, folding his life back into order, while her own was falling apart just beyond his reach. He remembered how she never spoke of family, how she never mentioned a daughter. It wasn't silence, it was protection. He sat on the broken steps of the alleyway building, the photo still in his hands. The sky above had turned gray, clouds moving like shadows. People walked past him, but their faces were blurred. His thoughts drowned everything else. Where was Maria now? And more importantly, where was the child? The next morning, Keanu didn't go to the studio. Instead, he drove to a small diner not far from the alley building. It was a quiet place, a little run down, but he remembered Maria once mentioned she liked the soup there. It was the only personal thing she had ever shared. So he waited, sipping, black coffee, scanning every face that walked through the door. 3 hours passed. No sign of her. But just as he was about to leave, an elderly man with tired eyes and a crooked smile sat down at the table beside him. He wore a janitor's uniform and smelled faintly of paint thinner. "You waiting for someone?" the man asked, voice rough but kind. Keanu glanced at him. "Maybe. You don't look like you belong here," the man chuckled. "But your eyes, yeah, you're looking for something." Keanu hesitated, then showed him the photograph. "Do you know her?" The man stared for a moment, squinting. then nodded slowly. Maria. Yeah, I seen her. Quiet lady. Real polite. Always said thank you even when she was the one who needed help. Keanu's heart jumped. Do you know where she is? Last I saw, she was talking to someone outside the community clinic a few blocks down. That was 3, maybe 4 days ago. Keanu thanked the man and left a generous tip before rushing out. The streets blurred as he drove. The city that had always felt big now felt too small to lose someone in. At the clinic, he waited again. Hours, sitting on a bench across the street, asking the nurse at the desk if a woman named Maria had come in. There were too many Marias. No one had answers. As the sun dipped below the horizon, he walked around the back of the clinic. Behind the dumpster where cigarette butts and crumpled papers rested, he noticed another piece of the puzzle, a small pink hair clip, dusty but intact. It was shaped like a butterfly. It looked like it belonged to a child. He picked it up gently. He didn't know why, but he kept it in his pocket. He didn't go home that night. Instead, he checked into a small motel near the alley building. Sleep didn't come. The image of Maria holding her daughter's hand haunted his thoughts. He had known grief. He had known loss. But this was helplessness. It tasted different. Bitter. Sharp. The next morning he returned to the alley. He stood near the rusted gate, unsure what he was hoping for. Then he noticed something he had missed before. A small girl, no more than 10, sitting on a crate a few feet away, her clothes too big, her shoes worn through. Her eyes met his. He felt a jolt. The same eyes as the girl in the photo. He approached. Slowly. Hey, he said softly, kneeling down. What's your name? The girl didn't speak. He reached into his pocket, pulled out the butterfly hair clip, and held it out. Her lips parted. A small gasp escaped. She reached forward and took it, her fingers trembling. That's yours, isn't it? He asked. She nodded. Where's your mom? The girl looked down. Her shoulders shook. Keanu felt his throat tighten. He didn't press her. Instead, he sat beside her. For a long time, they said nothing. The wind rustled the leaves. Life went on around them. But in that quiet corner, something gentle passed between them. After a while, she whispered, She said she'd be back. She told me to stay here. When did she leave? Keanu asked gently. 3 nights ago. Keanu closed his eyes. Maria had left her daughter alone in a broken building, waiting in silence, believing it was safer than wherever she was going. He stood up and held out his hand. Come with me. We'll find her. The girl looked up, unsure. My name's Keanu, he said. Your mom worked for me. I promise. I'll bring you back to her. She took his hand. As they walked out of the alley, Keanu looked back one last time. He didn't know where Maria had gone or why she had vanished. But now, he wasn't. Just looking for answers. He was protecting a child. And somewhere, Maria was carrying a truth that had been hidden too long. Keanu takes the girl to his home, hoping to keep her safe for the night. But just as they settle in, a hidden letter falls out of her bag. What's written inside reveals a secret that changes everything and puts Maria's life in danger. The letter she never meant to leave behind. Keanu's home felt different now. It wasn't the furniture or the polished floors, not the scent of fresh linen that Maria had once made familiar. It was the presence of the little girl sitting quietly at the corner of his living room, her knees drawn up, her head resting on her folded arms. Her name, he learned after soft conversation over warm soup, was Isabella, but she preferred Bella. Her voice was soft, unsure, like it hadn't been used much in weeks. And when she spoke of her mother, she didn't cry. She simply waited. As if crying would waste time she couldn't afford to lose. After dinner, Keanu prepared the guest room. It was the first time in years that someone besides him would sleep there. Bella stepped inside slowly, eyes wide at the shelves filled with books and the gentle light coming from the corner lamp. He offered her a pair of soft pajamas from the drawer and told her she was safe here. She gave a tiny nod, clutching her butterfly hair clip tightly in one hand as she curled up on the bed. As the night deepened, the house became still again. But this stillness was different, no longer silent, no longer empty. It held something fragile now, something worth protecting. Keanu walked back to the living room to tidy up. As he lifted Bella's small backpack to place it near the door, something slid out and landed on the floor. It was a folded piece of paper. The edges were bent, the ink slightly smudged. He picked it up gently, unsure if he should read it. But something told him it wasn't just a note. It was something Maria never meant to leave behind. His eyes scanned the handwriting. It was unmistakably hers. If something happens to me, if I don't come back, please forgive me, Bella. You are everything to me. I wish I could tell you everything, but it's safer if you don't know right now. Someone is looking for me, someone dangerous. That's why I had to hide you. That's why I had to go. Keanu's chest tightened. I didn't want to bring this to your life. I just wanted to clean, to earn, to keep you fed. But the past doesn't let go so easily. The final line hit him like a whisper wrapped in thunder. If this reaches someone kind, please protect her. Please keep her safe. She doesn't know what I've done, and I pray she never has to. Keanu lowered the letter slowly. His heart pounded. Maria wasn't just a single mother struggling to get by. She was running from something. And now, he had taken Bella into his home, without knowing what danger might be close behind. He moved through the house, checking the locks, drawing the curtains. It felt strange to be afraid. He had done stunts in movies, faced explosions and car chases, worn the face of heroes. But this was real. This was a little girl sleeping upstairs with a weight in her tiny hands that no child should carry. He sat on the couch, thinking. Maria had once said so little, but now her silence spoke volumes. If someone was looking for her, he had to find out who. He had to understand what Maria had left behind and what kind of past she was so desperate to escape. The next morning, Bella woke early. Keanu made her pancakes, and she smiled for the first time. It was small, soft, but real. After breakfast, she asked if she could keep the letter. He hesitated, then handed it to her. She folded it carefully, like it was something sacred, and tucked it into her small backpack. Keanu made a quiet promise to himself that day. Whatever Maria had been running from, he would face it. Whatever secret she had buried, he would uncover it. And until then, Bella would be safe with him. He started by calling an old friend, Marcus, a retired private investigator who had once helped him quietly find a missing cousin without ever making the news. Marcus was quiet on the call, but when Keanu explained the situation, he didn't hesitate. Send me a photo of her. And the girl, if you can. I'll dig. But Keanu, if there's danger, you have to be ready. I'm already in it, Keanu replied. That afternoon, Marcus arrived. A tall man with silver hair and eyes that had seen too much. He didn't speak much as he looked over the letter. He nodded toward Bella, who was now in the backyard picking tiny flowers. She doesn't. No, Keanu said. And I don't want her to worry. Marcus agreed. We'll keep it quiet. He pulled out his tablet and typed quickly, searching records. After nearly an hour, he looked up. I found a Maria Vargas, he said slowly. But it's not just one. There are 6 in the city. One of them, though. She had a sealed court file from 6 years ago. Something serious. No details, but she vanished from public records after that. Keanu leaned forward. Was it crime-related? Marcus shrugged. Can't say for sure. Sealed files usually mean witness protection. or someone powerful wanted something buried. Keanu's mind raced. What had Maria gotten herself into? And why hadn't she said anything? Just then, a loud knock came from the front door. Keanu and Marcus froze. Bella peeked in from the backyard, startled. The knock came again. Harder. Keanu motioned for Bella to stay back and stepped toward the door. When he opened it, two men stood on the porch. Dark suits, no smiles. "We're looking for someone," the taller one said. "A woman named Maria Vargas." Keanu's voice remained calm. "I haven't seen her." The man's eyes scanned the house behind him. "If you do, let us know. She's in some serious trouble." They handed him a card, then turned and walked away. Keanu shut the door slowly, turned the lock. He walked to the living room where Marcus stood watching. "Those weren't cops," Marcus said. "Not even close." Keanu nodded. Bella watched from the hallway, clutching her backpack. She didn't ask what was wrong, but she didn't smile again that day. As Marcus begins to investigate the sealed file, he uncovers a shocking truth. Maria once testified against one of the city's most powerful underground figures. Now that man is out of prison, and she has vanished without a trace. The man she dared to betray Rain tapped against the windows like a warning. Inside, the house remained still, but Keanu could feel the tension in the walls, in every breath. Bella sat on the couch, quietly coloring in a notebook Marcus had bought for her that morning. She hadn't spoken much since the two men came to the door. Her tiny fingers gripped the crayon too tightly, as if she knew the world was shifting around her, and she didn't have the words to stop it. Keanu stood by the window, watching the street. Marcus was in the kitchen, pacing with his phone, his voice low and sharp. Finally, he hung up and stepped into the room. His expression was hard. "I found the truth," he said, and the air in the room seemed to hold its breath. Keanu turned. "Tell me." Marcus sat down, ran a hand through his hair, and began. 6 years ago, Maria Vargas worked at a hotel downtown. She cleaned rooms like she does now. One night, she witnessed something big, a meeting between powerful men, drugs, weapons, threats. She didn't mean to see it, but she was there. Keanu's fists clenched. "And she told someone?" "She did more than that," Marcus replied. "She testified. Her statement helped take down one of the most dangerous figures in the underground circuit. A man named Dario Cruz." The name settled into Keanu's chest like a weight. "I've heard of him," Keanu said slowly. "He ran half the city's black market operations before vanishing." Marcus nodded grimly. "He didn't vanish. He was locked away, thanks to Maria. But now, he's out. Early release. Some loophole. 2 weeks ago." Keanu's eyes darkened. "And Maria disappeared right after." "Coincidence?" Marcus asked. "I don't believe in those." Keanu looked over at Bella, her small frame hunched over the notebook. "Does he know about her?" "We can't be sure. But if he does, she's in more danger than Maria." Silence followed. Not empty silence, but the kind that builds before a storm. Keanu's jaw tightened. He had spent years playing heroes, fighting battles on screens. But this was different. This was real. And he couldn't let this child, this mother, who had once cleaned his home in silence, suffer alone. "We have to find her," Keanu said, his voice low. "Before he does," Marcus stood. "I'll start with the courthouse records. Maybe someone from the trial still remembers her." Keanu nodded. "And I'll keep Bella safe." But that night, the storm they feared moved closer. As the house settled into quiet, Bella finally spoke. "Uncle Keanu," she whispered from the doorway. He looked up from his notes. "I think someone followed us," she said, her voice shaking. He stood immediately, heart racing. "When?" "When we went to the grocery store this morning. A man in a black car. He kept watching. I didn't say anything because I wasn't sure. But now, I feel it. Keanu knelt beside her. You did the right thing. Thank you for telling me. He called Marcus, who told him to stay alert and avoid the house for a few days. Pack bags, take the girl. I'll set up a safe place. Keanu moved fast. Within the hour, the car was loaded. Bella sat in the back seat, holding her backpack tightly, the butterfly clip still fastened in her hair. Keanu glanced at the house one last time before driving off into the night. He didn't know if he would return, but that didn't matter now. Marcus guided them to a cabin outside the city. Small, hidden in trees, with no neighbors for miles. It wasn't luxurious, but it was safe. The kind of place where silence felt like protection instead of fear. They settled in. For 3 days, nothing happened. Keanu taught Bella how to play chess. She laughed a little more. The fear began to lift. It almost felt like healing. But on the 4th night, a shadow moved outside the cabin. Keanu had just finished reading Bella a bedtime story when he heard a crunch of leaves. He froze, stepped to the window. A black car, parked just beyond the trees. He turned off all the lights. Told Bella to stay in the room and not come out, no matter what. He stepped outside with a flashlight, heart pounding. The car was empty. But on the windshield, a note. He peeled it away and read, "You have something that belongs to me. You know where to find me." There was no name. But Keanu didn't need one. He walked back inside, folded the note, and looked at Bella sleeping peacefully, unaware of how close danger had come. Marcus arrived at dawn. "He's baiting you," he said after reading the note. "He wants you to come looking. He knows you care." Keanu nodded slowly. "Then I will." Marcus placed a hand on his shoulder. "It's not just your life now. It's hers too." Keanu looked out the window at the rising sun. "That's why I have to go." Keanu begins his hunt for Dario Cruz, uncovering a trail of fear and silence. But when he finds the first real clue to Maria's location, it's locked inside a prison. No one dares to visit, except the one man she once saved, and he may not want her found. The man Maria once saved. The road stretched out like a question Keanu couldn't answer. Each mile he drove took him deeper into the shadows of Maria's past. Bella was safe with Marcus at the cabin, hidden under layers of secrecy, protected by a man who knew how to vanish in plain sight. But Keanu had chosen a different path, the path Maria once walked when she stood alone in a courtroom, facing a monster while the world turned its back. His first stop was the courthouse, not the grand one in the center of the city, but a smaller, older one on the edge of downtown, tucked between a used bookstore and a boarded-up cafe. It looked forgotten, just like the case Maria had once testified in. Inside, the halls were dim, the lights flickering above yellowed files and rusted drawers. He found the clerk's office and waited patiently. The clerk, a tired woman with red-rimmed glasses, stared at him blankly when he mentioned Maria Vargas. Her eyes lit up only when he said the name Dario Cruz. "I remember," she said softly. She was brave and alone. No family, just a child in the gallery one day. People warned her not to speak, but she did anyway. Keanu leaned closer. "Do you know where she is now?" The woman shook her head. "No one does, but..." She hesitated. There was one person who might. Keanu waited. A former convict. Small-time enforcer. Name's Carlos Navarro. Maria saved his life once, years before the trial. Took a bullet. Meant for him when she worked at that hotel. He testified later. Said she was the only good thing he ever knew. Keanu scribbled the name. "Where is he now?" The woman sighed. "He went back in. Something minor. Fights. He's at Harborwood. But that place, it's not easy to visit. Harborwood Correctional was a place people whispered about. Not because it was brutal, but because it was forgotten. Old, gray, buried behind hills and fog. It housed those no one talked about anymore. men who had been buried by time and mistakes. Keanu made the drive anyway. The prison gates groaned as they opened. The guards looked surprised to see him. One even asked for a selfie, but Keanu politely declined. He didn't come to be recognized. He came to find answers. They led him through cold hallways lined with rusted bars and peeling paint. The stink of damp air and sweat clung to every corner. Finally, they brought him to a visitation booth, separated by thick glass. After a long wait, Carlos Navarro was brought in. He was smaller than Keanu expected, wiry, with deep scars across his jaw and tired eyes that had seen too much. He sat down, picked up the phone, and stared. "Didn't think I'd ever see you here," he said with a crooked smile. Keanu lifted the phone. "You knew Maria." Carlos's face shifted. Not fear, respect. "Yeah, I knew her. She's gone. I think someone's after her. A man she helped put away is back." Carlos nodded slowly. "Cruz, you knew?" Keanu asked. "We all did." Maria was the only one brave enough to speak his name in the open. "I need to find her." Carlos looked away for a moment. "I owe her everything. She took a bullet that night. Just walked in and shielded me like I was her brother. I never understood why. Can you help me?" Keanu asked. Carlos leaned closer. "Maybe. I heard things. Rumors. Cruz wants her alive. Not to kill. At least not right away. He's obsessed with making people suffer. He wants her to watch everything fall before he ends it." Keanu's grip tightened around the phone. "He's got people everywhere," Carlos continued. "But Maria, she's smart. If she vanished, she's staying in places no one would think to look. Where? Somewhere near water. She always said she felt safest near the ocean. There's an old church by the docks, abandoned. She used to sit there after shifts. Maybe she's hiding there." Keanu wrote it down. "Thank you." As he stood to leave, Carlos tapped the glass. "You protect that girl. Bella. Maria used to talk about her like she was the only light in her world." Keanu nodded. "I will." By dusk he reached the church. It sat at the edge of the pier, half sunken, its bell tower leaning like it was bowing to the sea. The windows were broken. Gulls circled above, and the air smelled of salt and sorrow. He pushed open the creaking door. Inside, silence. He stepped slowly, scanning the shadows, heart pounding. Pews were overturned. Candles long melted into the floor. Then, in the far corner, he saw it, a blanket, a small kettle, and a photo, Maria and Bella. He stepped closer, knees shaking. But she wasn't there. He called softly. "Maria?" Only the wind answered. Just as he turned to leave, he saw something carved into the wooden pillar by the altar. Still watching. Still close. "Protect her, Keanu." He touched the words with trembling fingers. She had been here. She knew he would come. And now she had gone again. He stepped outside, the waves crashing louder now. His phone buzzed. "A message from Marcus. We've been compromised. They found the cabin. I have Bella. Meet me at Safe House 2. Keanu's heart dropped. He ran to the car. The hunt wasn't over. It had just begun. As Keanu races to meet Marcus and Bella, he realizes he's being followed. A high-speed chase ends in disaster, forcing him to choose between saving himself or drawing attention away to protect the ones he loves most. And in that final moment, Maria reappears, but not the way he expected. The echo of her footsteps, the tires screamed as Keanu's car cut through the rain-slicked streets. The message from Marcus repeated in his mind like a siren. "We've been compromised." They found the cabin. Time bent around him, seconds stretching into hours. The lights of the city blurred, red and white streaks painting the windows. Every corner he turned, he checked his mirrors. Every shadow became a threat. The hunter had become the hunted. He saw them, black sedan, tinted windows, following 2 cars behind. Too clean, too slow. He pressed harder on the gas. They sped up. Keanu's hands tightened on the wheel. He didn't panic, but he wasn't fearless either. Fear had become a tool, sharpening his focus. He wasn't running for himself. He was protecting the last piece of a woman who had once swept dust from under his couch without asking for anything in return. His phone buzzed again. Marcus. Change of plan, Marcus said, voice tight. They were waiting near the second. Safe house. Someone leaked. I've got Bella. Meet me at the old marina. Building 12. No one goes there anymore. On my way, Keanu said, turning hard into the next lane. But the black car behind him turned too. He needed to lose them. Fast. He took a sudden exit, one that curved down a deserted underpass near the edge of the city. The pavement narrowed. He swerved into a service tunnel barely wide enough for his car. The black sedan followed. As the tunnel walls closed in, Keanu made a choice. He slammed the brakes. Tires screeched. The car behind tried to react, but too late. Metal crunched. Glass shattered. Their car hit the wall, spun, and crashed into a concrete pillar. Keanu didn't wait to see if they'd get out. He reversed, backed out of the tunnel, and sped toward the marina. By the time he reached Building 12, the rain had slowed, but the sky hung low with thick clouds, and the world felt like it was holding its breath. The warehouse loomed before him, rusted, empty, forgotten. He stepped inside, calling softly. Marcus? A light flickered, then a voice. Over here. Marcus stood near a stack of crates, Bella wrapped in a blanket in his arms. She was safe. Her eyes lit up when she saw Keanu. He knelt beside her. Are you okay? She nodded. Just scared, but he kept me safe. Marcus handed her over gently. They're getting smarter. This won't hold them long. Keanu stood. Then we end it. A creak echoed through the warehouse. Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. Keanu turned toward the sound. A man stepped out of the shadows, well-dressed. Calm. Snake-like eyes. So this is where you've been hiding, he said softly. I must say, Mr. Reeves, I didn't expect to meet you like this. Cruz, Marcus muttered. The man smiled. You've been busy, stealing what belongs to me. Keanu stepped forward, shielding Bella. She doesn't belong to you. Neither does Maria. Cruz chuckled. Maria, she made a mistake. People like her don't stand against people like me. But she did, Keanu said. And now she has people who will do the same. Cruz tilted his head. Is that a threat? Keanu didn't answer. But his silence spoke louder than any warning. Then behind them, a sound. Soft, familiar. Footsteps. Keanu turned, and there she was, Maria, soaked from the rain, bruised, limping slightly, but alive. Her eyes met Bella's first. And in that instant, something unbreakable passed between them, the kind of love that survives even the darkest silence. Leave them alone, Maria said firmly, stepping toward Cruz. He smirked. You came back. I never left, she said. You just never looked in the right place. He stepped forward. You really think they'll protect you? Maria's eyes didn't waver. I don't need protection. I have truth. I have my daughter. And now, I have people who believe in me. Cruz raised a hand slightly, some signal perhaps. But before it could mean anything, Marcus stepped from the side and fired a single warning shot into the air. Cruz's men, hidden near the entrance, scattered. Sirens followed. Maria had made the call before she entered. Police cars swarmed the lot. Cruz froze. Keanu stepped in front of him, looked him in the eye and whispered, this time no loopholes. The officers took him away without a fight, and just like that, the nightmare unraveled. In the days that followed, Maria and Bella moved into a small, safe home, not far from Keanu's own. Marcus helped them get new IDs, new beginnings. Maria got a job at a community center, where she helped women escaping abuse find their voices again. Bella started school and smiled more each day. She drew pictures now, of oceans, stars, and a man with kind eyes who had once followed her mother home without ever knowing why. One evening, as the sun dipped below the hills, Maria stood beside Keanu on a quiet hilltop. They watched Bella run through the grass below. "I never thought I'd see this," Maria whispered. "You gave everything for her," Keanu said. "Now it's her turn to live." Maria looked at him, eyes filled with quiet gratitude. "Why did you help me?" Keanu smiled faintly. "Because you helped me first. You just didn't know it." They stood in silence, not the kind that hides, but the kind that heals. And as Bella laughed in the distance, the wind carried her voice across the field like a song that had finally found its chorus. Ending note: the story of Keanu, Maria, and Bella isn't just one of danger and escape. It's a story of what happens when kindness meets courage, when the silent are finally heard, and when a quiet act of following leads to a life forever changed.